Hello! Today is another live, a bit earlier, and I am happy to be here. My name is Ilona, and I am esthetician and help women in their daily skincare routine to implement their habits and keep themselves look amazing and look young and look great at any age. And today we're talking about skincare body and body exercises. And my amazing guest today is Jacqueline from her Gardens Gym. And I am very excited today to invite her. I gonna see if Jacqueline, hello, you see you. We are all beautiful, and the most important thing is to feel and look good at any age. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. It is such an honor to have you today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Excellent. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I'm thinking your lighting is lovely. Look at you, look all lovely and fresh. I thought my lighting was okay, and I'm thinking this looks rubbish. Anyway.
It's just I changed the area because my Wi-Fi was bad, and
Right.
I opened all the windows so the daylight is like more coming in.
Yeah.
And it's probably helping as well, the daylight. And today
Yes,
is the day.
John's saying Jacqueline always looks fantastic. Thank you, John.
Oh, great. I want to ask maybe if you could little bit tell about yourself, because it's something which you have been doing and having. The way how I found you was that my friend recommended looking at your videos, and I since then been hooked up the way you show simple ways of exercises implementing into the daily life. And it is so important to commit to those things, and you are just amazing motivator.
Thank you. Okay, so for the benefit of your audience and anybody that doesn't currently know me or know of me, so obviously my name is Jacqueline, I'm 58, mother of 5 children. I'm a personal trainer. I've worked in the fitness industry for 17, 18 years or so. I have a home-based studio, so in non-COVID times, clients come here, but during the pandemic, I've had many online clients as well, and then the existing clients had to switch to online because of that as well. And everything I'm about is about promoting healthy aging, and it really just emphasising how important it is to look after our body through fitness and nutrition at any age, and so that we can to me, I'm very much about pro-aging. It's not, I don't like things that are marketed as anti-aging. It's about pro-aging, embracing age and being fit and well for as long as possible, and recognizing the things that help sustain us in that, basically through remaining active. Whereas many adults, as they get older, their activity levels start to decrease. And so there are a number of health related issues because of that. And so I'm very much focused on the health benefits of exercise as opposed to, I mean, I can train someone for performance or athletic achievement, sporting performance, whatever, but for my remit, very much the people I work with, it's about health, and it's about the promotion and maintenance of health. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell.
But in overall, once we are like having these exercises, we are just rejuvenating ourselves, and we look so much radiant and glowing from inside. And I am as well about that natural glow, and in the implementing and daily life, what you bring into your routine helps you to kind of as well to slow down aging and embrace that we are excellent and at any age and beautiful. I think
I don't know whether it's so much slow down. I think the problem is we have this idea of aging, but and therefore we kind of set our expectations are set quite low, because we have a quite as a population in the United Kingdom, we are not a well population. So we know that we've got big levels of underlying medical conditions. Basically, obesity is a huge problem in the country, and so on. But because of all of this, and then we see many frail older adults, and because of this, we kind of think that's how old age is and accept it. And so very much what I try and do is promote how we can actually age well and still enjoy a good quality of life and remain independent and be strong and hit. And yeah, yeah, does that kind of make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's something which sometimes I was conscious to talk about by thinking, oh, I am going to offend some people, but my approach is just to that we change our little bit thinking that some people say, oh, I am aging, I can't do anything about it. You are right at that point if you think that way, but if you think that you can do something about your aging or healthy being or exercises, then you are right too. And
Yeah,
it's just all about
exactly.
that mindset that there is almost like some people have put on them something that they're not in charge of, but actually it's everything in us about decision to make and change.
Yes, exactly. You absolutely hit the nail on the head. So it's about, to my mind, it's like empowering people with information about lifestyle choices they could make that would be beneficial. But we're influenced, aren't we? We're influenced by our parents, our upbringing, the people around us, our family, what we see in our local community. And if that bar is set quite low, if we've seen sort of sickness and ill health and all around us, and that's what we've seen with our grandparents and so on, we might just think that's our fate, basically. So I think it's really good when we see, whenever I see someone older than myself and training well and looking fantastic and still very engaged in loads of activities and really have a zest for life, I find that inspiring. And I then know that's possible. So at 75, 85, it doesn't have to be that I can't get myself in and out of a chair by myself and so on. So I think the more people that are, kind of promoting what's possible, the more our expectations are a bit challenged a bit. So we stop thinking that's how it's going to be. And then we go like, oh, actually, that isn't necessarily how it's going to be. And also, I kind of want to make the point that you don't have to be an athlete. So I was never an athlete. I'm just very much an ordinary woman. I've exercised all my life, but there's nothing spectacular about me, because I think that's the other thing. There's loads of fantastic athletes or very athletic people all over Instagram. And we think, oh gosh, but that it's so unachievable, some of that. And kind of, I want to bring it down to like, it is achievable. There's nothing exceptional about me. I've never won medals or awards for my athletic abilities. So it's achievable just for everybody, really, at a very ordinary level. And I think that's an important message as well. It's great that we've got athletes inspire us, like, wow, athletic achievement. But for many people, that can be like, oh my gosh, I can't even compete with that, so I'm not going to engage at all.
Yeah, that's something very far. It's not related with me. But here is some samples of people who are just ordinary, but that they are working on themselves and they're showing results, and that is most important thing. That's the way I see as well in beauty. I just by looking back in my parents and grandparents, it was like something that during the World War or after the World War, there was no time for looking after yourself. You want to, but there is no information and it is not a priority. I think right now is a little bit changed, and our position and privilege, I would say, we can now actually explore, look at the other cultures, how the beauty routine is maintained, and just implement it and take some good things and kind of learn things. And that's when my approach came, that the little steps, what we do daily, is more important than when we go once a month to the facialist and to do some aesthetic treatments. It's just so much more important. And that's when I just decided, okay, I'm pivoting my business and I'm trying to make awareness about this like holistic approach to do the beauty, implementing and connecting with your internal self and learning those little steps implement.
Yes, I mean, a very much a similar approach with fitness, Bailey. It's basically it's sort of a daily implementation of something.
Yeah,
As opposed to, you know, one-off going to the gym and seeing a personal trainer. It's like, what can you do daily to be active and engaged and raise your general, because many people spend a lot of time sedentary, particularly over the lockdown period. Lots of people have, by just circumstances, became more sedentary. So it's looking at, you know, engaging, putting activity into your daily life, as opposed to always thinking, oh gosh, you know, I've got to go to the gym 3 times. I mean, that's great, yeah, a gym session, but can you be generally more active day to day? So it's a very similar kind of concept, I think, what you're saying, as opposed to sort of going to a beautician, facial, whatever, or even cosmetic surgery as a like sort it all out now. It's like a daily thing, you're saying.
absolutely. It's, to be honest, the results, the same aesthetic treatments or the same surgery is not going to be lasting for long, because if you don't take right nutrition in yourself, if you don't bring the blood flow to the surface or use the products which help to maintain this healthy skin from outside in, it's not going to last for long. And that's when is the importance of it. And the same in exercises. If you're going to be doing 3 times a week, those small steps implementing in every day helps you feel that energy boost, because your body starts to calculate, okay, she's going to be doing more exercise, let me generate more energy. And it's just something as well gives that positive attitude to life as well, because when you are full of energy, you're much more positive looking.
Yes, definitely, and certainly the sort of mental health benefits of exercise come into that as well, I think, and then you kind of, you feel happier, you look better, your face, you know, is lit up basically because you're feeling energized. And so
yeah, it's all like a circle. The physical activity, like, or skincare treatments, mindset and nutrition, it's like all together. So if you would advise, what would be like a number one exercise to implement for person who never done exercise and feel like they need to start somewhere and motivate themselves, okay, I'm gonna commit to one thing?
Well, if someone hasn't done any exercise at all, I'm always like, in negotiation discussion with clients, it's like, it's finding out what they feel is achievable. So for many people, and it sounds ridiculously simple, but for many people, just taking on board going for a daily walk, you know, that instead of thinking, oh, I don't do any exercise at all, right, I've seen all this stuff online and I think I've probably got to do X, Y, and Z, or maybe I need to take up running. The amount of people who think they need to take up running, and it's like, do you currently walk? No. Okay, let's start with, think about baby steps, literally baby steps. Let's start with a daily walk. And can you walk 10 minutes from your house and 10 minutes back again? And, you know, very, very often people fight against this. And, well, I want to do more than that. But it's about embedding habits. So I would much rather, when I'm working with someone, that they've gone out, they've got in the habit of going for a daily walk, and they've done that for a couple of weeks. And this has been a revelation because they haven't done that before, but now they're doing that. And once that's embedded, great, let's build on something else. So I would always say, you know, start, for anyone watching this today and wondering where to start, take a really good sort of look at where you're currently at. What are you currently doing? And if you're not doing anything at all, and you don't have any mobility issues, then I would definitely start with a daily walk. because that is a really good, that's going to support your heart health. And if you walk for 20 minutes a day, you're going to be achieving the Public Health England recommendation for cardiovascular, maintaining your cardiovascular health, which is accumulating 150 minutes of cardiovascular, moderate cardiovascular activity a week, which kind of, if 20 minutes walk a day, you're going to hit that. So that would be a good starting point. Then in terms of adding in other things, then you could start to add in some movement-based work, which will help promote your bone strength and your overall strength. So resistance training is something else. You don't have to go into the gym for that. Even things like carrying heavy shopping bags counts as resistance work. If you spend a lot of time sitting in an office, making sure you stand up from that chair, maybe sit back to the chair without actually landing your bottom on the chair, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, try and do that for a few repetitions, build that into your day. And so those are the sort of things I'd start with, without people feeling overwhelmed. And then we might build in some other body weight type movements. And then if people want to go beyond that, then we'll go, okay, so you've managed to walk. Now, can we throw in a couple of much brisker walks a week? Do you want to go out for ride a bike, cycling? Do you want to start jogging? People don't have to, but then there's so many other things people could do. But there's some guidelines where I would start. And I would also think about doing some flexibility work, because we want to maintain flexibility, range of movement. And there's a wealth of online videos people could watch for that, you know, whether it's a 20-minute yoga, beginner's yoga. There's something to maintain flexibility, range of movement in the joints. And so hopefully people listening feel like that's, you know, that's a starting point.
Yeah, definitely. I like the way you are saying that implementing and starting with that walking, not straight away running. It's just something which we can ask ourselves, okay, what is my body craving for? Like running, I hate running. For me, it would be like walking. So I will start with walking, and then commit to yourself. It's that there is again this mindset to make decision that I'm gonna be committing to it no matter what. If it's bad weather, I still will be going and doing it, those 10 minutes at least. And then it's just something which do it from that point of loving yourself, not hating. Let's say,
definitely.
Oh, I have to do it because I just need to something.
And I think, you know, if you download a tracking app or something on your phone, like Map My Walk or whatever, then you can have a little bit of a competition with yourself then. So you start to see your mileage stacking up over a week, over a month. You can track it, and then you're not in competition with anybody else. It's literally you versus you, how you're feeling. And it does sound ridiculously simple, but so many people don't do the basics. And it's all, and also if you've started off walking, you've never done walking before, you're going to help condition your body. So before you start to do other things, your muscles and joints and everything are going to get a bit stronger, because you're just loading your body a bit more. And not to underestimate again the mental health benefits of being outside in the fresh air every day for 20 minutes, no matter what the weather. Can really help with so many other things that we know are an issue for people. So mental health, as I said, the cardiovascular benefits for that, reducing your risk of heart disease, reducing your risk of developing diabetes, and many other underlying conditions. It's loading your bones.
It's just these like a health habits, like a conditions what improves, we kind of all know, but we still sometimes not motivated and don't do it. And it's just like it just needs to talk to yourself at some point to understand.
I think it's really difficult, isn't it? Because if we could see our future, that our current life choices and how that pans out for the future, we may well all make different choices. And so, but it's a bit like, my son works in the financial industry, and it's a bit like explaining to people why you need to have a pension, because when you're in your 20s and 30s, the thought of being retirement is like way off, like, you know, like that's for old people. And I think it's a little bit like that when it comes to health and fitness, because if we're currently okay, we're not, that's really not an issue. And if we're currently not very good, I think the other thing to remember is the only place you're going to go if you're currently not very fit and you're not doing anything, whatever age you are, there's only one place that's going to go if you don't make an intervention, and that's downwards. And so that's very often the point that people might contact me, because I tend to work with people in midlife, women in midlife. They're starting to notice a few things. Getting up and down from the floor isn't easier. They're getting a few aches and pains. And they're recognizing that without making an intervention, there's only one way that's going to go, and that's getting worse.
Yeah,
But it's great to address that sooner, really, so that you know, but sometimes it's a health thing that motivates people to want to change.
Yeah, most definitely. I just heard once a great aging model speaker saying that imagine your life is like a bicycle up the hill driving. The higher you go, the more you need to kind of work on it. And it just, you need to understand and encourage it, instead of like, oh no, I'm giving up and I'm not gonna do it, and then feel like really low. It's something which would be to work towards yourself, towards your future self, to think
Yes.
where I want to be in 5 years, because
it's exactly, it's like money in the bank for your old age, basically. So
yeah.
But it's also going to, you know, reduce your risk of developing many of the conditions that we associate with age. But a lot of those are because of inactivity, which is why it's so important. Something, I was on Instagram Live last night, and we were talking about sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle size and strength as we age. And that's a really serious thing. So when we think of, most of us, if we think about a frail adult, older adult, most of us will understand what that perhaps looks like. But it's a loss of our independence and freedom, because if you can't take yourself to the bathroom, if you can't get up and down from a chair, if you can't get in and out of bed, if you can't get something up into a cupboard or get something down again, these become basic daily activities that give us our independence. And so when we're active, that's one of the best ways we can do to reduce our risk of developing sarcopenia as we get older. And particularly relevant for women, because what we learned last night through the Instagram Live I did, that muscle loss occurs in women 10 years earlier than it does for men. So we need to be really, really aware of the risk and danger of this. And I can kind of, in my mind, when I think of frail little old lady, that's what we're talking about, sarcopenia. That's not to say all old ladies look like that, old women. We've got some super strong, dynamic older women, but we need to see more of that, so more of us are challenged to, like, what are they doing that's different? And sometimes obviously you can't, if we could all go back and choose who our parents were, but there are some genetic advantages, but it's not just that. It's partly our genetic history, but it's partly what we make a big influence by what we do.
Absolutely. I would say the genetics might take maybe 20%, because we can change our genetics by healthy eating. We can enhance it, and doing some stuff by the exercises, we can enhance as well our heart ratio and heart reduce diseases and cholesterol and everything. It's almost like it's actually up to us quite a big time.
Yes, I mean, there are definitely some conditions and family histories that are really relevant to exercise and the possibility of developing some things. So we need to be really aware of that as well, and very much avoid a blame game, because with the best will in the world, we might do, and I know many friends in the fitness industry and have many clients, and they've led a really healthy lifestyle and really good nutrition, but it's not an absolute given that you then won't develop cancers, for example, because cancer is incredibly common. So I think we've got to be also careful that we don't make it a blame game or make people think, well, you're bulletproof, because you're definitely not. But what we know is that these things are going to be beneficial to our health and reduce risk factors. But we can't take out all risk, unfortunately. But it's the things that we can do to promote our health as much as possible. I hope that kind of makes sense, because I'm very keen to emphasize that. As I say, I've lost 2 clients to cancer, and they were very active individuals. And I've got fitness professional friends who are currently dealing with cancer treatment. So it's not a given by any means. So we do have to be aware of family history, and we have to be aware of the limitations of exercise, but whilst trying to encourage and promote everyone to engage it at whatever level as well. That's the other thing I'm really keen to emphasize, is that, you know, that the desire might be right up there, but actually, can we do anything? That any activity is better than nothing. Any movement is better than nothing. So if someone is very sedentary at the moment, just starting to move a bit, starting to include a bit more activity in the day, a bit less time sitting, the occasional walk out, those I always like the steps in the right direction. You know, any step from where you are now, if you don't do anything at all, in that direction is a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely. It is there as well that those high expectations from ourselves. To-do list is so long that we sometimes are feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, and that is the most key to start those again. Give yourself a little break and do whenever it takes a little steps. Just take 2 tasks or 1 task.
Yeah.
Least, but not like 10. And that is, I think, 21st century problem that we want to so many achieve in short time, but in the end we burn out. And
yes, and then in my experience, people then switch off from fitness, and very often when people haven't done anything for a while, they're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and I'm like pulling them back and going, no, we're not going to do all that to begin with. It's great you're enthusiastic, but we start quite low, because I know from experience, if people do try and do too much at once, they'll do it for a couple of weeks and then that's just not achievable. They can't sustain that. It's a bit like if you think about a very restrictive diet, and that might help kickstart someone into some weight loss, but it's you can't sustain it. So when people revert to their normal pattern of eating, we're back to the same problem again. So which is why, same with diet, we try and address things bit by bit, rather than, you know, throw out the old, whatever you're eating, that's all completely wrong. Now this is a completely new approach to eating, and people might do it for a couple of weeks, but they can't sustain it. So it's much better that people kind of do bit by bit, and they feel good for doing it. They don't feel pressured. They can get it into their week, and then bit by bit we can layer on a bit more. But I also think it's really important people schedule time in their diary, because you've just said, you know, you're absolutely right. People are busy. We've got a lot on our plate. We are looking after ourselves can be the last thing on the list to do, and so it's scheduling that time in our diary. And that's, you know, even if it's I'm going to do a 10-minute ab workout there in my day there, and it's just like it's in your diary now.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle. What I believe it's the key, because I don't believe in diets or any like short-term goals, like to do some exercise and then you let go. It's I don't believe it has to be consistency and almost like a lifestyle, where we just keep going and doing those little steps and just feeling. Because I know that the more you do exercise, the more you have energy. The less you do exercise, the less you have energy. Because I had some point, like about 8 years ago, that I didn't do any exercise, and I felt like I am waking up tired in the morning already. And I just at some point was fed up with that feeling, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to yoga, because I don't know what to do in a gym. I will start with yoga. And it was life transforming. And it was that key that when I started to do once a week, and then I felt like good. And then I thought, oh, I need more, 2 times a week, and then go to 3 times a week as well.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a downward spiral, can't it? If we're not doing any exercise at all, we might start feeling a bit lethargic, a bit tired, not energized. I guess the other thing to touch on there is that, you know, that very often for women in midlife, that can, because you're dealing with changes in hormonal levels, and you could be tired, you could be having sleepless nights, you're having hot sweats and insomnia. and then that becomes a bit of a vicious circle because you don't feel like exercising because you're tired, and so that's a whole other discussion basically. But if anyone finds themselves in that situation and are really struggling at the moment, I strongly recommend you start looking at some of the symptoms and side effects of menopause and get a bit more edgy. I share quite a lot around that, but you can follow Dr. Louise Newson, menopause doctor. She's got lots of free downloadable sheets of information, workbooks, so that you can kind of really equip yourself with more information around that. But rather than go off on a real tangent, I just wanted to throw that in there about tiredness, because certainly a lot of people I work with, that's an issue.
Yeah, I am very glad that actually right now everybody is much more aware about the menopause, because when I was growing up, I didn't realize my mom was going through, and it was something. It's like she was had to go alone, and I know now, for me, I have to prepare as well. It's something which we are actually all going through the quite extraordinary changes, because in the skin it is as well significant. The skin gets thinner, the moisture loses because the estrogen levels are falling, and because estrogen is falling, there is collagen which is not produced enough as well, and then it's just like one quite a dramatic change in happening. And the same with internal hormones, the confidence can fall, the everything. And it's just so good that there is much more people who are talking about it and coming out and explaining and sharing their what they've been going through and what is helping them. Because 5 years, I think, no, now it's about 7 years ago, I just found out about the menopause.
So what advice do you give to women in terms of their skincare at midlife and menopause? Do you think women need to change their approach to their skincare at that point?
I would recommend, if it's possible, because during the menopause, the skin loses the laxity mostly, but as well, we don't involve the facial muscles that much, apart from expression muscles. And the most still area is from the décolleté up till here. The lymphatic drainage is not happening, so we have swelling issues appearing, and the metabolic, like lymphatic drainage, is much more slower, and that's when it needs to be kind of implemented into the daily life, like facial massages and choice of creams, or I would say serums, which are now shows quite good results about the peptides, which are small fatty acids, amino acids, which goes into the cells and stimulate the collagen. They almost like creating new bones of the net, and helping out to slow down that aging process and loss of the moisture in its cells. And that is something which, yeah, in the choices of the skincare, I would recommend as well to use more primer, which protects from the makeup if we apply, so it doesn't draw out. I find
I think a lot of women actually change their makeup and even stop using makeup at midlife because they're so fed up of it all going into creases and it's not looking the same.
Yeah, and absolutely, I believe that the clean natural skin is the best. But when we go outside, I would definitely recommend to apply sunscreen, because it's quite damaging to the skin, which is already a loss of moisture. And that's when it's possible, if possible, to apply like serums, cream, then primer, just to create that seal that the skin is protected, and then sun protection, because the sun protection is drawing out the moisture as well. It's quite drying.
So for women who do a lot of outdoor training, i.e. me, but out in all weathers, is it sunscreen that you think is the top thing you'd recommend for women when they're outdoor training?
Most definitely. I would think that, because it's the skin in the sun gets more sensitive, and the pigmentation issues is those like where the skin haven't been protected. It's have created that sunburn, and that's when the skin have reacted coming up to create this pigmentation. And that's when we don't use like sun protection or some kind of,
when it's kind of like, you know, our weather's really changeable in the UK, isn't it? We don't always have strong sunshine. So sort of in the cooler months and when there's quite a lot of cloud cover, but women are still training, and whether they're running, walking, whatever outside, do you think they need to protect their skin from the, I mean, there's another way, should they use more cream to protect from the elements, or what would you recommend?
In the, for example, when is the colder winter season, I would recommend to apply more not moisturizing cream, but more like rich cream, which creates that like a layer of the protection. Because when we run, or when it's the windy cold wind, is our face which is suffering the most, and it can create those small frost bites, because we have on the surface of the skin very close the vein vessels, and that's when is as well the rosacea and a lot of like redness starts to appear,
Right.
when it's been over treated with quite a big heat or cold. And
Right.
And the sun protection gonna help as well, because it will create that layer of protection, but not to go instantly out, maybe 15 minutes later, so it absorbs in the skin.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because when it's been just applied and you go outside, it's have this kind of like a still on the surface of the skin. And if it's, for example, very windy and cold, that will create that redness even more. It's gonna harm more rather than it's gonna enhance and protect. And it just needs to wait to absorb.
And what about sort of very active women, perhaps women who are getting very sweaty a lot of time, and they're you know, they're perhaps they're doing lots of HIIT workouts or whatever, maybe indoors now. What would you do? Is there a special way you need to cleanse your skin if you're a very active woman and your skin gets very sweaty? Do you think there's things that people need to be aware about for their face for that? Is it just a matter of cleansing properly, and you know?
I would say, yeah, if you are having these issues with excessive sweating, maybe to carry with you a clean face towel where you can wipe it off, because sometimes with the hands or the bandages, when we wipe, they might be not as fresh and clean with the dust catching on the street. But if you carry with you extra, maybe small face towel, and just wipe it off, would be excellent until you get in a shower. And then in a shower, you wash your face with a face soap or cleanser, and it should be fine until that point.
Right, okay.
I believe that when you are outside more than 3 to 4 hours, I would recommend reapply the sunscreen, because it stops its active ingredients work after 4 hours.
Right, okay.
That's why they, in the cosmetics, they say you need to reapply every 2 hours, because it's a high street standard and strength. But in the general, it's desirable every 3 to 4 hours reapply for sure.
Sure. Okay.
Yes, brilliant. It's been pleasure to talk to you. It's really interesting, and thank you for coming. And I see that quite a lot of people joined us but didn't ask their questions. It's just something which if you have any questions afterwards, please come and ask. We will be happy to answer them, whatever they may be. Thank you for Jacqueline coming today.
You're very welcome. It's been lovely to talk to you, and I hope your followers found something in what we've said helpful.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to thank you for asking me.
Thank you for telling as well. I found that today a lot of new things, like with these little steps, walking, because I kind of strangely implement them into daily life with my facial routine. But then I was like, I didn't do it with my exercises, and it just simple things like coming up with in every specter, which we sometimes don't find.
Yeah, it's a simple works, doesn't it, basically? And it's
Yeah,
a really good access point for people to engage. And that's what I'm always interested in, because yeah, we need to get more and more people to enjoy activity at whatever level it feels right for them, and to benefit from, have the health benefits associated with that. So yeah, I hope anyone who's been watching and doesn't currently enjoy exercise or think it's for them, whatever, feels that actually there's a place for them in the fitness industry, and actually to be active, and it's not a tribe, you know, it's not like you're not fit enough to join in, because there's something for everybody.
absolutely, definitely. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and thank you, Jacqueline, for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye
Bye.
now. Bye.